Midterm elections are less than a week away from today, and tensions throughout the country are definitely high. In fact, in recent days, right-wing message boards have seen a massive uptick in violent threats directed toward voters and election officials. Now, election workers are being forced to prepare for the absolute worst, and preparing for the absolute worst is probably a really good idea considering what we saw on January 6th and what we're already seeing when it comes to ballot boxes in places like Arizona. Daniel J. Jones, the president of Advanced Democracy, told Vice this: days before the 2022 midterms, we're seeing multiple users on extremist forums promoting election-related violence or using threatening and violent language. While it is unclear how many users online overall are making threats against voters or election officials, several of the users claim to have access to weapons and have consistently made threats against specific political figures. Now, on Reddit, there is a forum called The Donald. I gotta be honest, sometimes I go on it just to laugh at the people who post on there. It's an anonymous user by the name of Hogstooth01 who wrote this: "We will post up at every single drop box. If you try to drop off more than one ballot, you will be beaten without question. Better tell your grandma to drop off her own vote, because no games are being played this time. You will see violence if caught stuffing ballots in a drop box." So the post was in reference to this ongoing issue in Arizona. There were lawsuits surrounding this issue, and it has to do with vigilante poll watchers who are showing up to ballot boxes and essentially surveilling voters, intimidating voters. They're usually wearing all sorts of like military gear and they have weapons on them. Thankfully, that story, and honestly, surprisingly, that story took a positive turn. So US District Court Judge Michael Liberty, in an unexpected reversal of an earlier ruling in a related case, granted a motion Tuesday for a restraining order in a case consolidating a lawsuit brought by the nonprofit advocacy groups Arizona Alliance for Retired Americans and Voto Latino, with a similar suit brought by the League of Women Voters in Arizona. Both lawsuits accused Clean Elections USA, this is the right-wing group that's doing the intimidation, and the group's founder, Melody Jennings, of carrying out surveillance of voters in a coordinated vigilante intimidation campaign at ballot drop box locations with the express purpose of deterring voters from depositing their ballots. So because of the judge's latest ruling, the members of Clean Elections USA will now have to be far away from the voters as they're dropping off their ballots. They're prohibited from coming within 75 feet of a ballot box. Additionally, any armed or masked individual will be prohibited from coming within 250 feet of a ballot box. They can no longer take photos or videos of the voters as they're dropping off their ballots, openly carry firearms near the ballot boxes, or post information about voters online. So that's a positive update to this story, but that still doesn't do away with the clear vigilante violence that we're seeing.
Yeah, so there's a hilarious, ironic twist in this otherwise disastrous story that I'll get to in a sec. First, guys, this is what fascism looks like. So if you're confused by why that is, wait, this isn't necessarily Republican Party officials doing it, etc. No. When fascism came to Germany, there were these people that were called the brown shirts, and their job was to do vigilante violence. And the reason that they were egged on through propaganda to do vigilante violence is so that the government can have plausible deniability. So that when the Nazis, because remember, the Nazis didn't just take over in one day. And it wasn't like the Germans always were in favor of the Nazis. In fact, they never even won an election. They never got anywhere close to a majority. Hitler got a minority of the votes, but somehow wound up becoming president, electoral college, okay? And then he wanted to have plausible deniability for a long time. So he would get the brown shirts to do vigilante violence on his behalf and say, "Oh, I didn't do it. Hey, both sides are doing it. I can't tell who's who, right?" So here we are, where they're literally, and this is the extra dangerous because they're trying to scare Democrats away from voting at all. So they're doing the violence now very specifically at the voting booths. And then And then the mainstream media, by the way, has nonsense conversations about who's at fault and how can we find a way to blame the victims here and call it 50-50. But guys, that aids and abets the bad guys when you disperse liability to everyone instead of the specific people who are actually doing it. Now, who do you think's responsible for right-wingers threatening violence against Democrats at voting areas? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that it's the right-wingers, the Republicans, who are threatening violence against the left wing and Democrats. Of course, who else would it be? Martians, lizard people, gay frogs? What insane conspiracy theory do you have for this? But yet mainstream media can't tell. I can't tell who's right and who's wrong. Now, not in stories like this, I want you to understand. But as soon as you're done with this story, they have instant amnesia. And then they go back to Republicans and Democrats are the same. We can't tell the difference. We won't say that Republicans are doing anything wrong, okay? Yeah, they're doing something wrong. They're definitely going towards fascism. And they're trying to intimidate people by threatening violence at this level. Now, having said that, I got two other things out of this story, Anna.
Okay, go ahead.
One is Ron DeSantis has no chance. There are forums named the Donald, okay? There's nothing named the Ronald. There's no.
There might be, but it's not for that Ronald.
It's not.
It's for our good orange-haired clown friend.
Donald Trump is their messiah. He is violent like them. He is entitled like them. He has victimhood like them. He is exactly what they've been looking for, a giant prick who will just oppress everyone that isn't them. DeSantis and those clones have no chance against the real deal.
Trump turned politics into an entertaining sporting event for them.
Yeah,
so
by the
like
way,
that, I don't think Ron DeSantis has the
charisma.
Yeah, it is. It's charisma.
Yeah.
So yeah, Donald Trump does have that, and it appeals to voters who might not be, super engaged or entrenched in like political policy, but they enjoy the rallies. Their politics can be boiled down to one thing and one thing only: owning the libs. That's it. That's all they want. And I get it. Owning the libs is fun, but it doesn't accomplish anything for you or the country in general.
No, what it is hating the others.
Right, that's all it is.
And what did the fascists in Germany do? Focus on hating the others. Now, Hitler, unfortunately, was very charismatic to the German people. The fiery speeches and everybody yelling at the same time. They loved that. They used to go to Hitler rallies so they could do the salute to him, so they could rage against the others.
Yep.
And so, anyway, back to the irony here though. So this guy gets outed for threatening to kill people at voting areas. And then he gets super mad at the press and he says, quote, "I find it disturbing that he would use my real name in the message."
No, the entitlement is amazing. It is amazing. The entitlement is amazing. Yeah, of course they're gonna use your name. What are you? You're not a minor. Why would they protect your name? That doesn't make any sense.
No, to the right-wing mind, it does make sense because they think, no, I could threaten to murder you, and that's okay because I'm a right-winger. But if you out my name, that's a giant crime. I am the victim. Because if it happens to you and you're a right-winger, it counts. If it happens to someone else, it doesn't count. Because they're the most selfish, most egotistical, the most entitled clown asses you'll ever see in your entire life. And now they're driven to violence, and now violence around voting areas.
Yes.
So this is exactly how fascism comes.
But again, the good news here with this Arizona case and the vigilantes in Arizona intimidating voters at ballot drop boxes is that a federal judge ruled against them, and now they have to abide by these rules. And I saved the best for last. So remember, the group that we're talking about here, the vigilante group, Clean Elections USA, was founded by this woman named
oh my God, don't say her name.
Melody Jennings.
Oh my God, are you okay, Melody? Are you okay?
Yeah, no one cares if she's okay. So Melody Jennings, so she has to, according to the judge's ruling, put out a statement indicating that what she's been lying to everyone about is in fact a lie, and she has to inform them of the truth. So addressing Clean Elections USA and its founders' promotion of a false claim accusing some voters of being so-called ballot mules, Liberty, who's the judge, ordered Jennings to write a post on Truth Social stating that there are several reasons why voters in Arizona can legally return more than one ballot to a ballot drop box site. Per the judge's order, Jennings, who made the post on Wednesday, also included the relevant Arizona law on returning more than one ballot. We'll get to her post in a moment, but let me just note, look, think about how much they are actually hurting voters that might actually vote for their preferred candidates. Part of the reason why ballot harvesting is allowed is because, like, in some states, people vote in like rural areas, they might be disabled, they might not have the mobility necessary to get to a voting place or a ballot drop-off box. And so they'll have a family member or someone else drop it off for them. Okay, it's not some crazy conspiracy to stuff the ballot drop-off boxes with fraudulent Democratic votes.
By the way, guys, if it was, we would despise it. Why?
We would despise it.
Well, number one, the Republicans would be the first one to do it if they could, okay? In fact, almost all the voter fraud cases in America are of Republicans going, oh, I had to cheat some because I heard the Democrats were cheating, so I voted for Donald Trump 48 times. I don't know what you're talking about, man. All right, it's their fault. So they would be the first to. Second of all, we're progressives. You know who would be second to cheat? Corporate Democrats. We would get screwed the most. So I want the elections to be as fair as humanly possible.
Okay, let me just say, look, there's the moral part of it, and I think that's what you're getting at, right? But like, I also don't, like, I wouldn't feel good knowing that the party I root for won because we cheated. I would feel like a massive loser. Do you not understand that?
Forget that, I would be the first one to turn them in.
Dude, I'd be so embarrassed. It's like, no, obviously the people aren't buying what we're selling.
Here,
right?
we turn in the Democrats all the time. We tell you they take donations from corporations and then they serve corporations.
Yep.
We've shown it literally thousands of times on air. Why would we hide if they were cheating at the ballot box?
It's so
right?
lame.
They're not, but and guys, one last thing. You think like nobody can actually believe these insane lies that they say about ballot mules and how if you went to drop off something, the ballots for your wife or your husband as you're dropping off that you should be murdered because you were a ballot mule. No one could possibly believe that, right? No. They actually genuinely believe it. Remember, they don't need half the country to believe it. They just need a couple of lunatics on their side who are heavily armed to believe it, because a couple of acts of terrorism gets them the exact kind of vigilante violence they want to suppress the votes of the other guys, to intimidate their opponents, and then be able to go above the law and destroy our democracy. That's what the Republican Party's doing right now. If anybody isn't telling you that, they're purposely lying to you. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.